few malicious versions of GPT and other generative AI models, from Worm GPT, which is based on an open source GPT-J model, to DarkBERT, which is allegedly trained on data from the darknet, to the Dark GPT bot, Threat GPT, XXX GPT, Wolf GPT, Fraud GPT. And the most recent example is a tool called SpyHigh, which was actually created by a Korean cybersecurity company as a proof of concept. So what can bad guys do with tools like Worm GPT at their disposal? Let's take a look. In this particular example, a criminal is asking Worm GPT to create a convincing email that can be used in a business email compromise attack. It is directed to an account manager and instructs them to urgently pay an invoice. It should appear to have come from the business's CEO. And without any problems, Worm GPT can generate that email. In fact, the creator of Worm GPT is advertising his creation, as he calls it, in the dark markets where criminals share their tools. And he is actually selling this for a fee. So there is a subscription model. Once a month, you can pay several $100s or an annual fee so that you can use Worm GPT to create whatever you would like. And it is specifically designed as an alternative to ChatGPT to do all sorts of illegal stuff. This is what the creator says. But even if we look at the legitimate ChatGPT application by OpenAI, in the last few months, a lot of hackers have been discussing how they can actually use ChatGPT by OpenAI to jailbreak it, to convince it to do whatever they want. And there is a very dynamic discussion on this topic. So criminals are taking all sorts of approaches to create ways to take advantage of generative AI. Now, how does that work with the usual tools and the usual attacks that we know bad guys to use? Well, let's take a look at how generative AI is basically supercharging any old school automations that bad guys might have had access to in the past. So if we think about the classic ways that bad guys get into organizations, phishing emails, and they can now use generative AI to translate text, to create content and even images that are specific to different localizations, and they can create variations a lot faster. Well, what about credential harvesting and passwords? Well, with generative AI tools and with automation, they can now do credential harvesting, stuffing, and password cracking attacks a lot faster. They can automate their search for new passwords, and they can automate their tools that try to use all of these passwords. You know, there's a saying, hackers don't break in, they log in, and they log in with other people's passwords. I know I used to do that when I was a young hacker. Now, what about direct attacks? Exploiting, going into specific network devices, taking advantage of unknown vulnerabilities and hacking into them. We are also seeing that generative AI can play a role even in scanning, exploitation, and the most critical area is malware authorship and creation. So traditionally, if you have been in the industry for as long as I have, you know that writing new malware, creating new malware is perhaps the most sophisticated, the most intellectually challenging part of any criminal hacker enterprise. Now, generative AI can actually write malicious software for bad guys. And they are doing that all the time. Now, this is a really interesting research I want to spend a minute on. This was conducted by researchers at IBM X-Force. And what they did is very interesting. They actually told a human team of hackers and a human team using ChatGPT to create a successful phishing campaign. What you're seeing in the red, the 18%, this was the success rate of the phishing campaign created by the humans. Whereas ChatGPT created the campaign, but it was only clicked on 11 times, not 18 times. Well, you might stop and say, well, I guess ChatGPT is not as good as phishing as traditional hackers are. But this graph doesn't tell you the whole story. Here's the really interesting story. It took the human hackers 16 hours, 2 full workdays, to create the entire campaign, from the first idea to writing the emails to create the infrastructure. So about 960 minutes. How long did it take the team using ChatGPT? 9 minutes. This is 100 times faster. So while the advantage in the numbers is perhaps for the human hackers, the advantage of speed is for ChatGPT. And what does this mean for us as cybersecurity professionals? In the past, our life used to be a little simpler. We were this guy right here. By the way, that's Mario. Before he became Super Mario, he was just Mario. And he was doing battle with Donkey Kong, who was throwing barrels of flaming oil at him. Well, the job was kind of simple. You had to avoid all of those barrels. As a security professional, you had to understand where they were coming from, and then you had to make your way to prevent those barrels from hitting the most important things in your organization. But in the age of generative AI, our job as security professionals looks more like this. It has to be 10 times or 100 times faster. We have to use every tool at our advantage so that we can at least try and protect what's most important, and so that we can adapt for a future where hackers are faster and bolder than ever. So this is the story I want to share with you, and I want you to keep this in mind for today's session. We have incredible speakers covering every aspect of what you can learn from hackers today. I want you to come to this session with an open mind and understand, if you're still doing security the way you used to 2 years ago or 5 years ago, you are outdated. The future is here, and we have to take a page from the hacker's book so that we can adapt, so that we can learn, and we can be prepared for what's coming next. And by the way, take it from me, the best way to prepare for the future is to meet and learn from a lot of hackers. Where do I meet hackers nowadays? At BSides Tel Aviv, which is Israel's largest hacker security research conference. I would love to invite you to join us this summer, and we are still actively seeking speakers, volunteers, and sponsors to make our nonprofit community event a possibility. So please save the date for BSides Tel Aviv, June 27th at Tel Aviv University, and I wish you a fantastic day of learning everything we can from hackers. As always, I'm Keren Elazari. You can find me online as K3R3M3. Thank you so much for your time and your attention this morning. Everybody, stay safe and stay focused. Over back to you, Romy.
Thank you, Keren. Just on time, as always. Okay, so now we're moving to May Brooks Kempler. He's a cybersecurity expert with over 20 years of professional experience. As a curious person, her career has taken many turns, from penetration testing and cyber intelligence analysis to security architect. After a decade on the tech side of cybersecurity, she pivoted to the GRC world and held multiple consulting and CISO positions. Over the years, she trained hundreds of professionals in colleges, universities, and professional boot camps. She's an authorized ISC2 instructor, CISPP official study guideline, co-author, and has recently been selected to serve at the ISC2 Board of Directors. Congratulations, May.
Thank you.
May is an entrepreneur, lecturer, podcaster, keynote speaker, researcher, and author. Her TEDx talk guided thousands of people on how to protect themselves and their loved ones online, leading the formation of Think Safe Cyber Facebook community, which cultivates a tribe of 20+K members eager to stay safe online. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Romy, and thank you, Keren, for a wonderful talk before me. I'm sure the rest of the talks today will be just as inspiring, and I hope I can share with you guys a little bit about my personal sort of motto regarding a cybersecurity career. So I call it Explore, Innovate, and Thrive. When building a cybersecurity career, it's all about these three angles, but I want to start in the beginning. I want to start with a question that I've been wondering about for a while. What's the number one skill that comes to mind when you think about cybersecurity? And I'm sure when I ask you guys this question, you all have different answers. And I didn't just want to have my opinion. So I asked my community, and we'll get back to community in a few minutes, but I asked my community exactly that question this week. I asked it on LinkedIn and on a few professional groups that I'm in, and I got a variety of answers, from risk management to a bit of paranoia, from being good at human relations to having great critical thinking. Some answers repeated themselves multiple times, and some came only once, which, by the way, really surprised me. But I did just want to ask my immediate community. So I went to 3 very good friends of mine, Monica, Geppetto, and Bard. And this is what they had to say. So both ChatGPT and Monica agreed to give me a straight answer, with ChatGPT giving vigilance as the #1 skill and Monica giving attention to details. Bard completely refused to give me a straight up answer with just 1 skill. So he gave me critical thinking, adaptability, strong technical skills, and communication. I have to agree with all of them. I have to agree with everyone who participated in the question I asked. And I have to say that for me personally, just like Keren said, it's all about being curious. So a little bit about myself. My name is May Brooks Kempler. I've been in cybersecurity officially for over 20 years, unofficially way before. Similar to Keren, my first hacking experience wasn't with Mario Brothers. It was actually with Commander Keen, and I absolutely loved it. So I tried to find my way in this game to get ahead of the rest of my friends, which basically was hacking and trying to find cheat sheets and cheat codes and whatever. So my career took a lot of twists and turns, and I put it here in some sort of a timeline with a few important blocks, like taking the CISSP back in 2014, forming the Israeli chapter, being on TEDx in 2020, writing the book, being a co-author, and most recently joining ISC2 as a member of the board. And ISC2, for those who are not familiar, is the nonprofit organization that currently has 600,000 members, associates, and candidates, all in cybersecurity. We're the association that built CISSP and HCISPP and SSLP and other trainings. For those of you who are interested, go online, isc2.org, check it out. A great place to start when you start your career is looking at what lies ahead. But let's start in the beginning. Let's talk about building a career in cybersecurity. Many people, especially people from either young people looking at what they're going to do with their lives, or people in similar fields in IT or other areas, are looking for a career in cybersecurity. And in many cases, when I ask them why, the answer, unfortunately, is money. And money is a great motivation. Yes, you make a lot of money in cybersecurity if you're good. But for me, I don't think that's enough, especially when you decide on your career and how to build it from now and the next 20, 30, 40 years, or however it is until you reinvent yourself. And we'll talk about that in a second. So when I look at a career in cybersecurity, the first thing I think that every person should ask themselves is, what are you passionate about? What are you interested in? What makes you tick? And the answer is very different for different people. For some people, it will be making the world a better place. For other people, it will be the technological challenge and everything in between. It's very personal. Another thing you have to ask yourself is about your strengths and also a little bit about your weaknesses. If you're into details and you're very detail-oriented, maybe you'll like being a researcher or a penetration tester. But if you're a big picture sort of person, you'll probably not enjoy it as much, and you'll enjoy more methodological things or risk management positions even more. Last but not least is our aspirations. How do we see our lives pan out? If you like working with people, that's one thing. If you like working alone, it's another. If you prefer working from home, then specific roles will be more suitable for the way of life, for your aspirations, for the way that you see your life pan out. So when you think and you conclude all that, you have to think whether or not a career in cybersecurity is really for you. And if so, what sort of career in cyber? Because today we know that there are so many roles. Cybersecurity is not a position, it's a whole world. NIST currently recognizes 72 different roles. I think they're a little bit exaggerating, but there are so many different roles. Basically, there's something for almost everyone if you have the right point of view. And when I put this image, it came to mind because that's the cyber point of view. You have to form a point of view of expecting the not expected. Think outside the box. Think what could go wrong, because it will go wrong at some point or another. We know that. And that is sort of our point of view. And if you enjoy that, if you enjoy the adrenaline, if you enjoy speculating on how new technology is going to influence things, how geopolitical events will impact your organization or your industry or you specifically, then you can probably think about a career in cybersecurity. It's, for a cybersecurity point of view, it's a lot about practice. It's looking at different elements, looking at different attacks that happen in a different industry or different incidents that happen in a completely different place around the world, and try and think, does this apply to me? Where does it apply to me? Should I be prepared for something like that? If so, how can I be prepared for something like that? That's why for a lot of cybersecurity professionals, the COVID-19 wasn't that much of a surprise. I mean, we had global pandemics before. We sort of expect something like this to happen. We expect other things to happen. We expect things now with generative AI, and I will mention generative AI in a minute, and Keren already did. We expect new technologies to have huge impact that we can't even imagine now. And for me personally, that's one of the things that I absolutely love doing, researching new technologies, new events, and trying to understand how they're going to be used in a specific environment. Research it, look for other things, look for similar industries, and try and deduce what's going to happen to us. So one thing is the point of view, but the other thing that I know a lot of people struggle with in cybersecurity, especially when I talk about CISSP. When I talk about getting the CISSP, a lot of people tell me, but how are we going to have the CPEs? For those of you who are not familiar, CISSP is a global certification, very well known for cybersecurity professionals, especially for people looking at architecture positions, CISO positions, management positions, etc. And after you pass the exam, you have to continually evolve and learn in this industry. You have to submit annual continual points of education, CPEs. It's the same is true for other certifications like ISACA and other certifications as well. And basically, for me, CPEs is the easiest thing about having the CISSP. It's all about lifelong learning. And for me personally, if we look at the skills that you need in cybersecurity, for me, I think the number one skill is curiosity, being interested in technology, being interested in risk, being interested in business. Try and think about what you want to learn, what you don't know. If you're working for an insurance company, maybe take a course about basic insurance skills so you'll at least know what your industry is, what does it entail, who are the main players. When we're talking about skills, it's not just about the technical skills, it's not just about cybersecurity. Sometimes, and I'm a firm believer in lifelong learning, it's about getting other things as well. It's getting a little bit about marketing, and a little bit about business, and a little bit about technology, and a little bit about social engineering or social, or in general, psychology. And when we combine that knowledge and we continue to learn and we continue to evolve, then we truly have a cybersecurity point of view. And we can't talk about lifelong learning and emerging technologies and emerging risks and not mention AI. A lot of people, when they talk about AI, they talk about whether AI is going to replace junior level cybersecurity positions like tier 1 SOC analyst. And the answer is maybe. Maybe some of the roles will be automated enough where things like AI can actually do it and replace a human. Maybe. But that doesn't mean we won't need senior cybersecurity professionals. That doesn't mean that the junior roles won't evolve and adapt and change. And especially for those of us who are working in cybersecurity, we will use AI just like the hackers do to perfect our work, to grow, to do things that would have been impossible a few years ago. So I think that it will change the industry because the repetitive jobs, the ones that you can do even without thinking, they will probably disappear, which goes back to the original question about why you wanted a career in cybersecurity. If you're actually interested in the field, if you're passionate about the field, if you're curious, you'll always find something to do. And that's probably the most important slide for me personally, is the slide of pivoting. We know that when you build a career or when you build a startup. When you build a startup, you have to pivot. You have to look at what's going on around you, what other companies in the same field are currently doing. Are they changing what they're doing? Maybe we should follow suit, or maybe we should move away from something that we were planning to do because there's suddenly a new player in this field. So pivoting is important for companies. It's important for startups, but it's also important for us personally, as people, as professionals. As Romy mentioned, my career took a lot of twists and turns down the line. In over 20 years, I've done everything from penetration testing to research to architecture to content creation to CISO. And I don't regret a single thing. I think I learned a lot from each and every role I took. I think I learned a lot about myself, about cybersecurity, about what I'm interested in and what I'm totally not interested in. I learned about my passions. I learned about my strengths, about my weaknesses. And it gave me a lot of flexibility in my career. When I look, for example, when I sit on the board of directors and I look at the different certifications and certificates and trainings that we offer as an association in TIC2, I can identify where we can offer more additional things. Maybe we're missing something and we're trying, and I know for those of you who are certified, there are a lot of things coming up in 2024. It's going to be a very exciting year, I can promise you that. But for me, it always comes back to the story of Alice in Wonderland. When Alice asked the Cheshire Cat, "Can you tell me please which way I ought to go from here?" And the cat replied, "That depends a good deal on where you want to go." When Alice replied, "I don't much care where I go," then the cat said, "It doesn't really matter which path you choose." And that's absolutely true. If we don't know where we want to go, we'll never get there. If we don't know now what we want to do in 5 years' time and in 10 years' time, we'll never get there. Because we'll just pivot all the time from one interesting thing to another interesting thing, which is great, but does it serve a higher purpose for us? Going back to our aspirations, how do we want to see our lives pan out? What is the lifestyle that we aspire to? So we can't just move around and we can't just pivot. We have to pivot with the new technology, with the new threats, with the new opportunities, but we have to keep in mind what we want, and is what I'm doing now going to help me achieve the goals I'm after? At the end of the day, when we talk about cybersecurity, we know that it's impossible to do it alone. And just like Keren mentioned before, besides Tel Aviv and Leading Cyber Ladies and other initiatives she's involved in, I'm also a big advocate for networking and meetups and really being part of the cybersecurity community, both on a local level, wherever each and every one of you is residing, and on a global level. There are so many global opportunities, including the one that we're in right now. Yes, this may not be a networking event, but I'm sure that some of you will see people that you're interested in. So maybe start following them on LinkedIn. Maybe reach out to them on LinkedIn. The majority of cybersecurity professionals will be more than happy to lend a hand. If you're in an organization and you don't personally know the CISO, maybe reach out to him or her. Ask him for their guidance. Go to meetups, even if at first it feels very awkward and you're not sure how to start a conversation and who to talk to. I find that networking is probably the number one, well, maybe not the number one, but one of the highest, definitely the top 5 skills that helped me throughout my career. I haven't really submitted my CV for a job since 2006, not because I was in the same company. I switched a lot of companies and a lot of positions, but people know me and I know people. And when I hear about a new opportunity, I listen and I talk and I make opportunities come my way because I have that network and people know what I'm interested in, what I'm good at, what I'm terrible at. And that's the power of networking. And when I have a question like, what's the number 1 skill that comes to mind for cybersecurity, I have a community to ask. When I'm working now on my doctorate, I have a community to ask the question. When I relocated to the UAE, one of the first things I did was to reach out to the IC2 chapter in the UAE, introduce myself, and start networking there. and I networked with the BlackHat community in the UAE and with other global events and other local communities, and it's absolutely incredible to get those opportunities. And today, especially after COVID, the world is so small. It's super easy to connect with people around the world. Now, I know we have only 10 minutes, and I presented a few ideas, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions. And since we don't have time for a Q&A, so I will give you a bit of my perspective and a few practical tips that you can use today to try and advance your career and build those takeaways that we'll review again in a second. So I think that for me personally, it's all about learning, communicating, and innovating. That what makes for a good cybersecurity career. And when I'm talking about, for example, learning, I added to back to my own story, I added a few things at the bottom. Some of them are courses that I took. Some of them are positions that I took. Some of them are things that are completely outside cybersecurity. For example, in around, I think it was 2017, I took a coaching course. Not because I want to be a coacher, not at all. I just wanted those skills of talking to people, of interacting, of getting people to do something. For me, it was basically a social engineering course, one out of many. So I try and educate myself in different fields. I try to talk to people and ask for their perspectives, and it opens up so many doors. I would never get on the board of directors of an organization like ISC2 without taking those steps along the way, without volunteering in things like the Chapter Advisory Committee and the Global Awards Committee and other committees and task forces I took part of during the last 10 years or so. And there are so many opportunities for you to be engaged, whether it's delivering a talk or being in a conference or being part of a think tank or going to things like B-Side or other conferences and learning and educating yourself. There are so many opportunities. So I hope this inspires you. I hope it inspires you to also share your knowledge. I have my own podcast. I have one from about 4 years now. Now there's a new one. It's called Cybermania, for those of you who want to follow. And there I host interesting figures from cybersecurity on different topics. Some of them are super technical, some of them are from the business side, some of them are CISOs, and we try to keep engaging conversations. And from there, in most episodes, people will recommend books or podcasts or websites that you can follow. Do it. Immerse yourself in cybersecurity. Explore other things, even if it's far from what you do on your day-to-day. So I want to mention the key takeaways once again, with which we've started this conversation. It's all about exploring, innovating, and thriving. Explore the technology, explore skills, explore the industry, explore business, innovate. Think about where what you've learned is applicable to your career, to your organization, to your life. Network, and all of these things together will help you thrive. Last but not least, I want to leave you with one of my personal nuggets that I absolutely love. Your life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change. If you don't like something, change it. You're not a tree. Thank you very much.
Thank you, May. As always, it's a pleasure to hear you. So first of all, regarding the Q&A, we can leave in the end time for Q&A. So if you want to ask something, feel free to write it in the chat and we'll get over it in the end. And another thing, I will be very spontaneous and I will take May's idea. And whoever wants to make some connections here is invited to write his LinkedIn connection in the chat, so we can connect to each other and let's get to know each other, if not face-to-face, at least from LinkedIn. So, saying that, let's go to the next lecturer, Mauro Israel. Mauro is an expert in cybersecurity. He has been involved in his field for over 30 years through security training and awareness raising, security audits, consulting, and ISO certification support. A graduate of the Institut Supérieur du Commerce de Paris, I hope I said it right, Mauro has earned the professional certification of programmer of the French Army, Master CNE Novel, Microsoft Certified Professional, Pro CSSI of the Leonardo da Vinci University, Master and Certified ISO 27001, lead author of the Implementer. Mauro, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Romy.
Thank you.
Good morning, hackers. It's a real pleasure to speak in this webinar because I'm a real hacker, an old hacker. I've been hacking all the time, and I recognize myself in what you were saying, ladies. It's all about curiosity. It's all about trying to change things. And I will introduce a topic about some very practical stuff about hacking and how the hackers can help actually the world, the companies. So as John Lennon was saying, it's not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Actually, it's raining a lot in the economy, in the world, and we have to cope with that rain. And on the cybersecurity field, it's raining a lot also, especially with the COVID-19 and all the ransomware waves that we had and we will still have. And of course, there is also an eruption of the AI. And now that AI is very popular, I'm just trying to use it. And I think that we will have this kind of avatars very soon everywhere. I mean, maybe we will not be speaking with humans, but we will speaking with avatars. And there are a lot of deep fakes right now. And this is a field of hacking that is really very important to know. So you have internet, and the internet is seen by the users like you see here, which is a very nice place with a lot of stars. And actually, you know that the real internet is not like that at all. The real internet is an internet of cyber attacks, ransomwares, access denied, wars, cyber wars, virus, etc. The hackers, they have an immediate advantage because they have no borders to cross to attack our companies, our economies, our people. In the cyber war, there are no borders, and every computer on the internet is only just 1 second, less than 1 second distance from any computer on the internet. So the attacks are very powerful and fast. So we have to take account about that. And this is why the hackers can help. And my friend and hacker, Clement Domingo, couldn't make it to come, but this is a way to help as a hacker or a cybersecurity professional, which is the two sides of the same coin, actually. It's hackers without borders, because we need to help not the big companies, they know how to manage those cyber attacks, but those hundreds of thousands of small companies that have no idea on how to protect. And especially you can help by joining the Hacker Without Borders, and this is international NGO, and you have the contact there, and you can also go on the website to join. So this is very important to not to do that for money only, even if it's making your salary or your life. Economically speaking, it's also a way to have like a doctor to help the other people. So you earn money, that's fine, but you help people as well. So you may consider to go to this NGO, Hackers Without Borders. And my last slide is about something to be a survivalist, to survive the cyber attacks. The big companies, they know how to survive a cyber attack. They have a lot of skilled professionals, but the small companies, they have no idea where to start. So I summarized the 3 actions to survive a cyber attack or to mitigate a cyber attack. The first one is encrypt. Encrypt hard disks, encrypt everything you can, and virtualize the servers. Why? Because on the payload of the ransomware attacks, very often you have a way to bypass the password, the admin password, the local admin password, or the server password, or the admin of the Active Directory password. So to avoid the con-boot kind of, which allows you to bypass any password on Windows or Macintosh, or the command and control equivalent on as a payload, this con-boot or equivalent cannot support disk encryption. And this is valid for server as well. So if you encrypt your hard disk, then you are much more protected than before against all those attacks. Also, you can consider some Surface laptop instead of normal laptops. And you, of course, you enable secure boot, which is not supported by those kind of attacking software, and also virtualization through VMware or other VirtualBox or any kind of virtualization. So if you implement a domain and you protect your Active Directory, or if you do disk encryption on all your computers and you enable secure boot, you will be able to be protected against any kind of admin password bypassing, which is a lot. So for that, you have to avoid the Windows family versions. You have to avoid the Windows version, not like 10 or 11, and you have to patch everything, of course, like always. So if you cope with a small company or a medium company, and actually they have their servers and their workstation not encrypted, basically you are in big danger. The second point is to implement the 2-factor authentication scheme, like in Google authentication through a flash code. And this is why you will avoid all the password spreading that you can see typically, like in Have I Been Pwned. Very recently, 15 million of Trello accounts that a lot of people use for project management were disclosed, not to mention the 70 million of NAZ API accounts, etc. So passwords are terrible. We will get rid of them soon, but in the meantime, we have to implement everywhere, and especially, of course, in sensitive application like Gmail or any kind of database access or GitHub repository, we have to implement 2-factor authentication. And the last one, which will make your company survive the cyber attack even if it was successful, is the immutable backup. Oh yeah, we have a backup, but actually it's a SMB backup. It's a shared drive, for example, but it's not encrypted. And so the primary data is on danger. So you implement a 1-2-3 backup strategy based also on the local backup, for example, on a different device like a NAS, and of course, encrypted again. Go to point number 1, encrypt hard disks. And this local backup, you need also a third backup, which will be offsite and will, of course, be encrypted. And to join this backup, you have to disrupt the kind of connection real time, and you go through a different way of backupping. For example, cloud to cloud backup through G Drive, or a competitor of G Drive, of course. And also for the VM, you do a snapshot. Means that you can restore the VM very fast in few minutes, and you test all this through unitary restoration test, or disaster recovery plan testing, global. And you just disconnect your primary data and you try to survive this. So the immutable backup is a concept that will save the company from a ransomware attack that was successful. So we have to prepare to dance in the rain. That's it. Thank you for your attention. And I'll pass again to Romy for the next.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you, Mauro. If there is any question, Tal, are you online? Just a second. Okay, if you have any questions in the meanwhile, I will present Tal, and hopefully she will join in a second. So Tal Colander, how to think like a hacker. This is what she's going to talk about. Tal is the co-founder and CEO of GIZMODO, a device misconfiguration and vulnerability detection and remediation system protecting over 3 million devices worldwide. She's a former professional hacker who transformed into a cyber specialist at the IT Corp Cybersecurity System Division of the IDF, and later a cyber expert and system security architect at Dell EMC. She then created GIZMODO with her co-founders. Her efforts in the cybersecurity field earned her the Cybersecurity Woman Entrepreneur of Year 2023 award by the United Security Alliance. So Tal, I hope you're here. Let me know if you can hear us. If not, we will wait a few seconds. Okay. We will be very spontaneous today. If you have any Q&A in the meanwhile, you can write them down in the chat, as we said before. And thank you very much, everybody, for sharing your LinkedIn connection. I think this is very valuable, and we will connect to each other immediately after this event. Okay, Tal is coming. Just a second. Zvika, please approve Tal. We're all very spontaneous. Okay, so Zvika, you need to approve.
I can't see her.
Okay, just a second. Let's write her again the link. This is what happens when we are all spontaneous. Let's try like this. Okay. Bear with us. I'm copying the link. Let's see. Okay. Let's see if we can hear her.
She's not here yet.
Okay. Okay, I think she is. Can you just open her the mic?
She's not in her name.
Just a second.
Find her.
Okay. Tal. You have to find the name Tal.
No, she's not here.
While we wait, may I answer anybody's questions about my presentation earlier as we wait for the next speaker? So everyone, hi, it's Keren again. If you'd like to ask me anything, now is your chance. Take the chat and feel free to ask anything. As we wait for our next speaker, who is actually really fantastic, Tal. I met her at DEF CON, the hacker convention last summer. So I see we have someone that wants to ask a question. Ragul, you have a question? Please write it in the chat. Miko would like to know what's my best motivation to be a hacker. Well, for me, it's curiosity, and it's the fact that things are changing all the time. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. Every week, every day, there's something new.
רומי, לא התחברה.
It's always very exciting. May I ask Zvika and Romy to speak offline as while we answer people's questions as we wait for Tal to connect with us? We have a couple more questions. Ziv would like to know, what do I recommend to start learning first to get into ethical hacking? Well, one of the best places to learn about ethical hacking is the whole area called bug bounty hunting. So what are bug hunters? A lot of big companies, including Google, our sponsor today, and many other big companies have bug bounty programs where they actually invite friendly hackers, ethical hackers, to identify bugs and report them. And there is even a resource by Google called Bug Hunter University. I will put the link later in the chat. So if you're curious about how to learn about ethical hacking, or if you want to increase your skill set, your experience, definitely take a look at bug hunting. I absolutely recommend you also look at platforms like BugCrowd and HackerOne. Full disclosure, I have collaborated with both of these platforms in the past, so I really recommend you take a look at bug hunting through BugCrowd, HackerOne, and Google's very own Bug Hunter University. I see
Keren,
we have, yes.
You are
Romy.
the best. You are the best. Thank you so much.
Oh, Tal, you are with us. Fantastic.
Thank you, Keren, for saving us.
My pleasure, everybody. I will get to your questions later in the chat and at the end of the event. Now, the stage is for Tal Collender, Cybersecurity Entrepreneur of the Year. Tal, the stage is yours. I'm going offline.
Thank you so much, Keren, and hi, everyone. It is a pleasure being here. So first, I don't know, sometimes there are some problems, but okay, let's keep it and let's get into business. So as you know, being an entrepreneur is not always easy, right? And you need to, it's kind of a roller coaster, like all the time you have some things that you need to deal with. And okay, what if your idea is not good enough? What about if you have like some other thing to do, and now you have all the pressure and tense in the world that you pretty much need to everything is on your shoulder that you need to do, and you are sometimes it's like you really want to give up. But let me tell you my I would say I'm in London right now, by the way. I'm in let's say back-to-back meetings, but since I saw this event, I told Eyal that I'd be more than happy to take part of it. So let me start from the beginning. My name is Tal Collender, and I'm the founder, actually one of 3 founders of Gitpol. Gitpol is an Israeli company. I will tell you more about Gitpol in a few minutes, but what I really want you to know is that how I pretty much started my my career. And my career started as pretty much like Keren when I was young. So when the first computers just arrived, and then there was like the I would say one of the amazing thing in the world. I mean, like in back then, which is the internet. And the internet brought so many things. So many good things, obviously bad things as well. But this was our first way to communicate with other people, in meaning like with other people, like not even in our country. And it was so easy, like finally to speak with someone, not to call him. And maybe, you know, like back in the days, like Netscope and ICQ and those things. And then there was also some online gaming, internet gaming that we all know that, many things are still rely on the internet in order to play with friends. And when I first discovered it, so I used to spend my nights like playing in some internet games, and of course the what we call like the summer. And after a while, we saw that whoever wins whatever, like the first place, gets like lots of I would say like very nice gifts. So I decided to challenge myself, and I decided to say, okay, that's it for me right now. The new challenge is like to be number 1 at several games, and those games are internet games. Let's say on one of them, I was pretty sure that I will become number 1, and unfortunately, I woke up, I don't know, like 2 hours, because I went to sleep very late, and then 2 hours after the competition ended, I saw that I'm not ranked number 1, but I was ranked number 2, and I said, no way, it doesn't make any sense. I was the best at this game, and this is how I discovered how to crack into games, and then how to hack, and then, but without even saying hack, because it wasn't really a term back then, like cyber. And when I started, it was pretty much, it was nice because I discovered that there are more people like me, and I said that no way that someone, can beat me at some game that I was so good at, but thanks to him, I discovered my hacking skills and techniques. And back in the days, you pretty much had to write everything on your own. Today, there are so many tools, to deal with it, and to crack, and to do so many things that you want. And with time, I pretty much became like the female version of Robin Hood. I got so many prizes, and then I just brought them to my friends and family. And then in the army, as you know, in Israel, we must serve in the army, and we must join it. Otherwise, it will be a problem for us. So when I joined the army, I first started actually nothing that relates to computers, which is fighter pilot. I started in this course, and after some time, I continued into the computer units, like several computer units. I'm pretty sure that you all know the names, and this is where the army discovered my skills, my techniques. And when I say my skills, they pretty much adapted my BlackHat techniques, and change it to white hat, a white hat hacker. And the reason is simple. They said, Tal, you start helping your country instead of your pockets. And this is how I discovered how easy it is. Like, because I love my country, and so many things that we learn in the army are so important later on after the army, and to use those skills. It's like a microcosmos of the world. And let me take it fast forward. I use the same hacking techniques that people used to use 20 years ago. Believe it or not, they still use it today, to create Gitpol. So Gitpol is a company. One of the things that I'm so proud of is that Gitpol is a bootstrap. So we never raised any money, any funds, and we are profitable, unlike pretty much, I believe, like cybersecurity, unlike any other cybersecurity startup. So what we did is that we decided to create Gitpol in order to help people think like an attacker. And if you think like an attacker, that's the only way to beat them. Because if you don't think like one, you won't be able to beat one. And this is how Gitpol pretty much started. So by leveraging and enabling the people to see and to think like them, and this is how they will be able to beat them by auto-remediate any what we call device misconfig. And when I say device misconfig, now I'm going to tell you a little bit. I'm going to be a little bit geeky now, okay, like more geeky than the story. But what you need to understand is that in Gitpol we pretty much took so many things that today you might see in a vulnerability management tools, in pen test and penetration testing tools. What we did was simple. We took so many things that are considered as security misconfiguration on Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and Kubernetes now, and we have the ability to auto-remediate them without an impact. What is the most, I would say, the most scary thing for any organization is, of course, to remediate things and then you might have an impact. So that is why usually when the security team, they want to do something, and they get a report with, oh my God, like everything is bad and full of red items. Now you want to address it. The way you address it usually is you send it to the IT. The IT need to do it. The IT team, they need to do it. And then the way that they do it is semi-automatically. This is usually what, and I will talk about examples in a minute. And they are afraid that if they will do something that will break something or anything, they will find themselves out. I mean, they will be kicked out from the current job. And now let me tell you some examples so you will have a better understanding. Let me start by talking about something that we all see, even with the recent attacking groups with Lockbit and Lockbit 2.0, that they all leverage a few things, but one of them is, for example, LLMNR or SMBv1. Now, I will tell you what the problem is. No matter how many patches you will do on your device, you will patch the recent patch Tuesday, your software, third-party software are up to date, everything is great. What is the problem? The problem is no matter how many patches you will install, the LLMNR, the SMBv1, the TLS v1, of course, v1.0, and so many other things are still open and still open and enabled. The reason is simple, because the patching are not disabling those things. SMB has three versions, SMB v1, 2, and 3. TLS has TLS version 1 and 1.1 and 1.2 and 1.3. Versions 1.0 and 1.1 are obsolete. So is SMB version 1. So is, of course, like if you know NTLM, but it's very hard. People think that it is very hard to disable it. And now when you get a very nice report, I don't know, in your vulnerability scanner, in your pen test. Okay, you know that you have the problem. Now you need to address it. So in Gitpol, we thought about how easy it is not only to address it, but finally, we have the ability to auto-remediate those things without an impact, because we tell you if there is any usage of those things. And if, for example, there isn't any usage for SMBv1, which is enabled by default on each and every device, then you will see that it's so easy to remediate because nothing will happen to your organization. In any case, we added the revert functionality. Revert meaning undo. Let's say that you did something, even removing the local administrator, okay, that wasn't even logged on in the past 90 days. And then you want to bring it back to the previous state, you can always do it with Gitpol, no matter when you did your remediation. So it's like everything from auto detection, but also remediation of any device security misconfig that you might think of. Because again, the only alternative today is manual best efforts or semi-script, semi-scripting, and then you need to really know what is it that you are doing, and probably you will break some things. And that is how actually even places like, or companies like Checkpoint and CyberArk and so many others, and Fortune 500s and etc. are among our customers. Not only that, you will see that it's not only on those, but also in so many other places that we always see the same pattern. There is no alternative for Gitpol. I mean, let's say until today, and we are here just to make your life easy or easier, because we know that at the end of the day, all of those things cost you manual best efforts and cost you so much time, and time equals money. And in Gitpol, we managed to show you how much time and money you save in a very, very, very simple screen. So every remediation that you make with Gitpol, you can see how much time you saved, and you can also create your full-time employee budget. You can enter the salary, and then you can see how much money you saved. So let's say the full-time employee salary for cybersecurity is $100K, okay? So, and let's say that you saved 6 months, it means that you saved $50,000, $50,000. And you can do it again, and you do it, actually, it doesn't take you 6 months with Gitpol, but we show you how much time you saved. You do it with a few clicks. And that is what we do today. So any Windows, Linux, Mac OS, whether it is in Kubernetes, whether it is in your on-prem, SaaS, DMZ, closed network, open network, we can tackle them all. We have a very large, I would say, customer base. We keep growing. We are 30 plus employees today. And we are super proud to be an Israeli company. And as you know, the situation today is not that fun. But we are doing our best. And of course, for our customers and for everyone to, of course, first, let's say to say that Israel is still standing. But not only that, obviously, we really want to tell them that we are always here. And everything is okay. And yeah, and well, I really want to thank you for your time and for listening to me. And well, with your permission, I just Romy.
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Tal. Thank you for all the help of everybody for being so spontaneous. So. Tal, thank you again. And now we're moving to Rafael Franco, a former Deputy General Director, INCD, Israel National Cyber Directorate, received the highest national Israel Security Award for creating and leading a special operation. Franco served 28 years of experience in national security, ISA, NISA, INCD. He was one of the INCD pioneers and the first head of the National Cybersecurity Division. Co-founder and CEO of CodeBlue, the most significant strategic cyber crisis management orchestra, and author of the book Plan B for Cyber Crisis Managers. He's going to speak together with Olivier Deloy, that has a very long bio, so be with me another 2 seconds. After managing the network and the security of the high school information system, Olivier joined Ernst & Young audit firm to create a cybersecurity laboratory and perform cybersecurity audits at customers. After 4 years, he became the IT internal auditor for Ernst & Young EMEA. Then he joined LVMH, yes, as a group CISO, and after 3 years, combined this function with more operational role of CISO of the watches and jewelry division. Why didn't we know each other then? After that, he moved to Thales as group CISO, spent 4 years there, and finally joined Faurecia, as a tier 1 automotive manufacturer as group CISO. He also set up an automotive product cybersecurity laboratory located in Tel Aviv, Israel, and was also responsible for securing industrial system on top of protecting corporate IT. Since January 1st, 2023, he created his own cybersecurity consulting company named Blue Enable over four verticals: cybersecurity assessment, governance, including interim CISO, awareness, and training and crisis incident management. He is also a member of board of director of Asovika, an association which helps victims of cyber attacks and create a group of security experts named CISO Squad. Last, he has lectured at Telecom Paris High School on various cybersecurity topics. So after this long presentation of these two important people, the stage is both yours.
Hey, Oliver, how are you today?
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yes, we are
Okay,
hearing you.
very good. Fine, and you?
Are you ready?
Yes, I hope I am. You see my screen, I believe, I hope.
Perfect. So, hello,
Yes.
everybody. It's we are very happy to see you today and to share with you our thoughts. Me and Oliver, we are here to share with you our experience. As Romy said, I retired after 28 years. I lead the Israeli cyber security division and operation, and I spent 28 years. Not all of them I was in the defender side. Part of them I was the other side. And today I'm running Code Blue as a crisis management team based on our technology platform running in Israel, but we are based on also in Frankfurt and Berlin. And I'm speaking today from Berlin. And what I want to show you, what I want to share with you is why, unfortunately, crises are not inevitable. There will be crisis and more than that. So first of all, let me to show you the curves here, the trends for 2023, 2013. I want to speak about what we are facing with. First of all, as Tal mentioned, the digital challenges are growing every day, and as we know, in each platform, in each software, there is the vulnerabilities. I think this is maybe the first trend. The second trend, we are more dependent on external suppliers, so it's also growing the surface attack. And of course, but not last but not least, this is very important to understand what happens in our arena. When the COVID started 3 years ago, and everybody know that we was locked down and everything was closed and the border was closed, and we know that also the traditional criminal make a shift in business continuity, to business development to the cyber attack. So we found ourselves with many, I will say, new cybercrime gangs that cracking our facilities, cracking our economy, trying to penetrate to everything, to steal our money, to steal our identity, and so on. And of course, all the new LLM are also helping, unfortunately, to the attackers to grow up and to make a sabotage. But this is not the end. The end is that I will say the cybercrime syndicate, those gangs are understanding how work the pyramid, And like in the drugs area, they build the same affiliate, like multi-level marketing. They are distributing the products. They're 0 days outside, and it's became more and more tough to handle with the cyber security. And this is why I always try to say to my friend, crisis unfortunately are growing every day, and unfortunately this is the situation. So if this is the situation, I want to handle with Oliver. Please take our presentation forward, 2 slides forward. I will say two slides forward. One more, perfect. I want to say that cyber crises are always happening, and we should be prepared. And what I mean when I'm saying prepare, we are understanding very well that cyber crises are happening from technology collapse, but the impact is a business impact. Is the business continuity highly disrupted because of cyber attack? It means there is when we are speaking about crisis, we are not dealing with technology. We are dealing with business disrupt. And business disrupt is always means reputation. We are here, and you are there to keep the reputation. It's not matter if the technology is work or not. We need to keep the continuity plan. So it means we need to make an alternative. We need to prepare to make a plan B. We need to be sure that we have all the elements to handle with those crises, because as I mentioned, the crisis is not a cyber issue. It's a business issue. And if we understand this is a business issue, we should understand that we need to be shoulder to shoulder with the C-level. We need to take a lot of advantage from external experts. So this is unfortunately what we are faced. Cyber crises are happening in blink of eye, and they are catching all our business side, all the C-level side. So we must to prepare them. How we prepare them? Oliver, take one more slide, please. Forward, not.
Yeah. Sorry for that. Yeah. Okay.
We talk about the war room map. The war room map is covering all the aspects: HR aspects, privacy, the cyber intelligence, financial. We can find ourselves with stock exchange decrease or lack of cash flow because 2 weeks of any income of money. We need to communicate internal, external, to our customers, to our our employees, of course, to our shareholders. So we need to talk. When we are talking about cyber crisis, we are talking about team of people that working together to create a war room to handle with the situation and to keep our reputation. And I think this is very important to understand that. And I will say one of the most questions, and this is what I want to dive in, one piece from all the pieces, because I can share with you a full course of cyber crisis management, and of course our expert team around the globe. But most of the people ask me, Franco, if we are in a crisis, to pay or not to pay. And I want to try to give you my perspective as I was in the both sides, as I mentioned. Okay, I want to give you some thoughts and notes and maybe some indicators if to pay or not to pay. Of course, leave it to the expert, but part of the preparedness side is to understand if we need to pay or we should pay, and this will keep our reputation. I don't like it, but in my company we calculate that with our customers, and this is take me to the last slide before I go to. So sorry, there are 2 slides. First of all, ask the best questions. What is damage? What is the affected? What is the business unit? Who is involved? Make your PR team. What is the impact of regulation and legal? What is the external and the internal issues? And how I always keep the reputation via status evaluation. And this is very important to understand all of that. But if I back to the pay or not to pay, I make for you a new slide, and this is the first time I show this slide, okay, to pay or not. So there are 7 indicators to pay or not. First of all is the hackers, if the hackers are known or unknown, if they are nation states, if they are affiliate or no, we calculate it. Second, the corporate defense. If you did our exercise, our test, our simulation, our assessment, our code blue assessment, I can tell you before the crisis and to predict if you are in a good corporate defense or not. So if you are a good corporate defense liability, of course we will not go to pay, okay? And there are other issues like technology issues. Your BCP, business continuity plan, is lack of BCP or your success, your BCP. Your backup goes or you have a lack of backup. And in the end, the time to recovery is more expensive than what you need to pay to the hackers, yes or not. And in the end, you have insurance or no. You have a lack of privacy, and if you prepared before, yes or not. All of those elements help us before the crisis to calculate and answer one of the toughest questions that I deal with any crisis, to pay or not to pay. And to be honest, for our customers that we are working with them shoulder to shoulder every day to prepare them for the crisis, I can tell you 95% of our customers handle with crisis with no pay. But when you are not prepared yourself in all the aspects that I show you in the cyber war room, unfortunately, part of us need to pay to keep the reputation. Thank you for the first session, and Oliver, please continue.
Thank you very much. It was very good hearing you. And sorry, I understood now that when I click on your slide, due to the fact that it's going from right to left, I was going in the wrong way, just between Hebrew and French. Interesting. Okay, so I hope you now see my presentation. Hopefully, whoops, sorry for that. Okay, tell me if you can all see my presentation. It's okay? Yep.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, good. So I will go very quickly. So I will skip maybe the part presentation of my company and myself because you did it very well, Romy. I just want to say this quote at the bottom here that you see from William Saito, who, by the way, is a member of the Japanese government and also a member of the board of Palo Alto Technologies. So I find it very interesting. What makes the train go very fast is the fact that you know how to pull the brakes. If you had no brakes on a train, you would never dare to make it go that fast. And that's exactly summarizing what we are doing in cybersecurity. We are making sure that our businesses can go as fast and far as possible without having any risk on the business for the business. So that's our goal. Well, again, I'll skip the presentation about myself. I try to be always very pragmatic and cost-effective and business enabler. Business enabler, as we have just said, I don't want the company to look at me as the guy who prevents everybody from being able to do anything. You know, at some point, people look at Caesars like, you secure everything, but there is no more business because of you. So, you know, you shouldn't be proud in that case. So, of course, I try to remain a business enabler and be as pragmatic and understandable by everybody, because again, if you speak a language that nobody understands, nobody's going to follow you. And I try as well to be very cost effective. We all know it's difficult for a lot of companies and people these days, so we need to make sure that we are able to keep up with the budget of the companies. Otherwise, again, we are out. What I do in the portfolio of my company is maturity assessment. So trying to understand what is the level of protection today of the companies, then govern and write policies, write strategies, explain to the executives what we're going to do and why we're going to have these priorities, give awareness to the people, tell them why they should do it before we give training, meaning how they should do it, and be prepared for incidents and crisis management. So Basically, what we are seeing here today is that it's super complex for a lot of people to manage cybersecurity. This is just an example of how complex the things are in terms of cybersecurity. And in fact, the role of CISO is a little bit like this one. You try to prevent people from doing things wrong, even if when they do it, they leave a lot of traces on the floor, and they know they leave traces, but they sometimes don't care, or sometimes they may not know how much traces they leave. And again, even for people who have the key, because simply it goes faster to go around the fence by going onto the grass. So it's important for us to understand that we need everybody in the company: HR, communication, marketing, finance. Everybody in the company is needed in order to put whatever is necessary for the people to go through the fence, open the door properly, instead of going around the door, bypassing the door. So I want to talk a little bit about crisis management. So when I ask companies, what do you do if tomorrow, 5 a.m., you have a ransomware hitting your company? What would you do? Some of them tell me, well, I'm going to send an email to all my employees. Well, wrong answer, because first of all, you don't have any more messaging system, and they don't have anything to read your emails. And the second thing is, sometimes they say, well, we will shut down the computers we have. I say, well, okay, do you have an inventory of all the computers that you need to shut down? Do you know how you will shut them down? Is it simply by pushing the button? Is there any procedure you have to follow? And so on and so forth. And we see that they are not prepared. And believe me, when you're not prepared for the crisis, and the crisis is hitting you, that's where you get most of the damage, and you really can't stop the bad things from happening in that case. So what you need to do to prepare is what you see here on the screen. You need to identify teams that will be involved in crisis management. When I say teams, it's at least 2 teams: strategic and operational. Strategic are the guys who take decisions. They define the priorities. They are the execs in the company. And operational are the ones who do the technical operational actions that are needed in order to take the right decisions. Believe me, splitting those into 2 teams is absolutely key. It's critical. Let me tell you something. If you wonder what went wrong in Munich in 1972 at the Olympic Games, why has it so badly ended? We know for sure, all the services worldwide know, that it's because there was no split between the people that take the decision and the people that were negotiating with the terrorists. Now we know that we have to split it in order to properly decide what needs to be done and when, and so on. Then, of course, when you have defined the teams that are going to be involved, you need to understand the risks. You need to have a risk map. You need to understand the business risks and the technical risks. And you have to prepare the right responses. You have to train before the crisis. Don't wait for the crisis to check whether or not you are prepared. Again, otherwise you'll go very wrong. And you have to be able to review and update your plan, because along with the life cycle of your systems are evolving. So your plans to respond to a crisis must evolve as well. So then you have to execute. When you go into the crisis, you have to execute properly, get the right alerts, be able to switch to crisis mode, meaning that you have defined criteria to enter into the crisis mode, which means wiping the agendas of everybody, which means shutting down some, let's say, business services, keeping only the critical ones, and so on and so forth. You need to tell your execs and your stakeholders, you need to keep them informed of what is happening. Don't wait until you're in bad shape in order to tell them, because maybe they have things that they can do before as well. Then you, of course, activate the 2 cells. You inform your assurance. Nowadays, we have also cyber insurance, even if it's getting more and more difficult to subscribe to it. And then take the right decisions, keep everybody informed, be able to terminate the crisis. And terminating the crisis doesn't mean the opposite of initiating the crisis. It's not the same criteria. If you simply try to take the opposite actions and criteria to your switch criteria, it will fail. You have to define 2 different types of criteria to initiate the crisis mode and terminate the crisis mode. Then you have, of course, to conclude on the lessons learned. How could you do it faster without spending that much money and without involving so many people? Next time, if it happens to you another time, how would you do it better? And again, you have to carry on with a long-lasting plan, but keep in mind that you have to terminate the crisis before you do everything you have understood you had to do in order to be prepared for next time. Otherwise, you keep your teams in crisis for too long. So again, I have a lot of recommendations. Some of them are technological recommendations. Be able to reach out with different internet connections, different PCs, different messaging system. Your people that are involved in the crisis have orchestration tools in order to react more quickly. Have physical walls ready that are able to lock and so on and so forth. Again, all of that has to be prepared. And I would conclude by saying I like the PIN thing, P-I-N. Don't panic, don't improvise, and don't neglect. Panic is not going to help you. Improvising, meaning you're not prepared, again, this is not going to help you. And neglecting, thinking that something maybe is not so useful, or you don't need to investigate on something, that's usually where the bad things are hiding, and that's going to take you to a very bad situation. So do we still have time, or we are running over? For the questions together, I don't know, Romy?
Oliver,
We have a minute of time if somebody has a really an important question to ask.
Oliver, so, but from your perspective, so what is the most important to handle with crisis?
So again, I really believe that it's to be prepared. It's to have all the necessary businesses, including internal businesses and client-facing businesses that are involved, and typically practice, rehearse with them before. I typically, for example, I took at one of the companies I worked for, I took 2 days with all the exec committee of the company. And when I say all, it's everybody, including the CEO, CRO, marketing, and everybody, HR, and so on. And why did I do it over 2 days? Because I wanted them to go at night, go back at home, and come back on the next day and still being in a crisis mode. And I wanted all the businesses to tell me if they agree with the decisions they are able to take, with the level of detail that I'm providing them in order for them to take the right decisions, and so on and so forth.
I agree with you. I think 80% of the success to handle with the crisis is the preparedness mode. So prepare, not just a training and exercise, also build your alternative to the BCP, make all the C-levels know what they do, make sure that your incident response know where and when to help to the technology guys. I should the legal side. For example, if all our legal requirements are ready, and if we are follow all the regulation side. So if we do all the preparedness, I think we can feel more safe, more comfort. No?
Yeah, I agree. And again, don't forget to ask your execs what are the decisions that you are able to take. For example, if you're a CISO, are you able to disconnect a site, disconnect many sites, disconnect the whole country from the MPLS, for example? That is not something that you're going to have to decide when the bad things are happening.
I like the one page for each person. For example, if you are the CFO, give me a list of what I need to do. One page, what I need to do. No, don't start with the 500 pages that I will not find my legs and my hands. So give me one page. If I'm the legal advisory, give me one page to start with. If I'm the incident response, let me to know what I need to do. CISO, whatever. Of course, the business continuity or the business unit. I always say that the business unit can save the situation, because if we have a reliable alternative to keep our reputation and to keep the businesses in ongoing process, I think it really can help. So I like to start with the business unit. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely true. And again, keep in mind what I told you. My values, I believe, still apply. Meaning, be business enabler, be cost effective, and be pragmatic, be simple, be understood. Again, make sure that you involve all the necessary parties. I see a question on cyber insurance. Just to answer on this one, it's getting more and more difficult for companies today to be assured, and you have a lot of exclusions as well. So a lot of people are wondering what will be the future for cyber insurance. I believe the insurance is going to involve hopefully, I mean, those that won't evolve will simply die. But those that will involve and understand that they have to consider the cyber risk as a completely different risk. It's not at all the same thing as, you know, burglars or whatever. It's completely different. I have a whole explanation on that. I mean, they have to understand that they have to consider as a different risk cyber insurance. Otherwise, they will die. Simply because it takes you 6 months to 8 months today for companies to work with cyber insurance to get assured. So that's too much work, and they need to make it simpler and faster for companies to get the right insurance.
Wow, wonderful. So, Oliver, it was a pleasure for me to participate with you, to give a lecture together. And you don't believe, behind the scene there are more invitation to our next session together.
Absolutely.
So, Romy, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much. After this kind of presentation, I have nothing to add. So thank you, both of you. I hope that Maor is with us. So Maor is the next presenter. It's not the first time that I present him, and I really hate all his bio because it has so many words that I need to say separately. So I'll try, and hopefully this time I'll say it right. So Maor Tal is the founder and the CEO of Secreta Group. He is a security researcher with over a decade of experience in pen testing, red teaming, and cloud security. His research and talks were presented in BlackHat DC 973, ISC2 Second, and more. In 2019, he published his book, Web Advanced Hacking, and became Israel OWASP CTF's co-author. He's also the author of Azure Offensive Toolkit called Blue Map since 2022. Maor is also OSCP, CCSK, and CISSP certified. I hope I said it all right. So Lior, the stage is yours. Maor, sorry, and
okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sorry to make the life much harder with all these curses. Yeah. Can you see, guys, my screen? I mean the presentation.
Yes,
Good.
Yes.
Nice. So thank you again for inviting me this time. Well, I'm really excited now to talk about the new venture that I made in the last almost 2 years. And I wanted to discuss about red teaming, specifically in Azure, which is very common became nowadays. This is a bit about me. My company is Secreta, and I am leading a very small team of talented people in red teaming, physical red teaming, cloud security, and we are doing some research. And this toolkit came from one of our customers' engagement that we had 2 years ago. So what we are going to talk today is the challenges that we have in the red teaming, specifically in Azure environment, our internal methodology that we are currently running with our customers, and show you the tool and how it's practical to work with our framework to pen test and managing your customer environment. But let's give 1 minute about the challenge in red teaming. Red teaming is not something that is so easy, rather than, pen testing internally and stuff. In Active Directory red teaming, we have a very good infrastructure that we know what we expect. There is a lot of common vulnerabilities, misconfiguration that might exist. But Azure is a very complex task, right? We need to understand our way around it, keeping up all the changes, all the micro stuff from launching VM, the regional stuff, the infrastructure hardening. We need to have a quick analysis and reconnaissance for crown jewel when it comes to red teaming. Because we have plenty of tools nowadays for Azure, but sometimes it might take a while, and the result we are expecting to get are not so clear, and the TTPs that we are using in our red team environment for Azure is really different from Active Directory, the classic red teaming. And nowadays, it also becomes challenging when we are working within hybrid mode. Companies will leverage Azure or 365 along with an on-prem Active Directory. So my motivation was back then to create a tool internally for us. So this tool should bring us a practical result as soon as possible with a minimal false positive, and be able to explain this POC as well for the stakeholder, and not wasting time of gathering all the low-hanging fruit, which might be good in a regular red teaming and AppSec perspective. But when we are talking about true red teaming, these tasks become much more complicated, and we want to have some level of certainty about our attack path. So essentially, I designed the Blue Map, which is an interactive tool that automates all the TTPs for a red teaming perspective. For Azure environment, everything is built from scratch. The library of the request, the protocols, the API communication, the OPSEC. So whenever we are running this tool from hybrid environment, from an on-prem workstation, no EDR, no SIEM, no tool, no detection is possible whenever we are running our tool. So it's designed to be stealthy. So we don't need to ask the IT team or the help desk to whitelist our tool, or maybe to exclude us in some way. And now we have our community version, which is publicly available. You can download it right now. And we also have our enterprise version, which I'm not going to demonstrate this session. Comes with a UI interface and stuff. So in order to understand the real power of Blue Map, we are going to follow this case study that we had our first year of the tool. We start with a TTP called credential access, then we move to the initial access, making some privilege escalation, very basic though. And we will end the session with a persistence and some takeaways from our experience. So this is the way that Blue Map works behind the scenes. When we are running the tool, there is a workflow that's happening in the background. It's divided into two different layers. The first layer called the subscription. The subscription level, whenever all the assets is built upon this level. So our tool is running the subscription, analysis the subscription, do some correlation between the data automatically for us. And then it go to the resource group and even the resource level. So let's pretend that we have a virtual machine and we want to see if our user has some high privileges to attack this. So it will automatically analyze all the subscription, all the resources, all our privileges, correlate together, and give us the report, what to do. You can see from this sample, on one of our engagement, we running the model of service principal, and this model found one of them called mail monitor, and also suggest us which exploit we can run automatically in order to escalate our privileges. The same for understanding what level of power do we have in the tenant. In the second screenshot below, you can see one of these permissions provide us an owner, which is the highest we can think of in engagement. So everything is just straightforward and work through the engagement. Let me see again. Okay, so this is our playbook. When we are starting our team engagement in Azure, we are following these 4 steps. The first step is whenever it's external or internal, we are doing some attack surface mapping, which is really different when we are talking about external asset or Active Directory. And then we are moving ahead for finding some entry point to play with it and see how far we can go. Once we land on a specific asset, we are starting our internal inauguration. And from there, we are continuing the TTPs for our lateral movement and some profit. So let's see how easy to work with the Blue Map. So the installation is really straightforward. Unlike any other tools, you need to compile or you need to download, install it. You do something unique. All we need is GitHub and Python installed, no matter which version. So once we download the Blue Map, we clone the repository, execute the bluemap.py, and all the exploits are ready to go and preloaded. And we are ready to go. Simply as that. But every second pen tester asks me, great, okay, Mo, I got your tool, but how do I get a token, the access token used for authentication or some credentials so I can authenticate the Blue Map with the server? So that's a really good question, because we usually get our credentials from GitHub leakage, Pastebin, some password spray, but we can do so many techniques to obtain the initial access. For our demo purposes, we will demonstrate the password spray technique using our model. But let's take a pause and talk about how it works when we are working from an hybrid environment. So when we are talking about an hybrid environment, essentially we have the PowerShell installed, AZ PowerShell, some utilities of PowerShell being installed. In my use case, my customer has AZ PowerShell pre-installed, and the AZ PowerShell back then used to store the user who communicate with the Azure tenant, used to store the access token in plain text. So our tool, BlueMap, knew how to look for this particular access token, obtain the token, impersonate that particular account, and automated the process for us. Unfortunately, Microsoft thought it might be a security risk, right? It might be a wrong idea to save the access token in plain text. So they move ahead for a MSL-based Azure CLI, which essentially means all the clear texts are gone. They are now encrypted within a vault. It becomes more complicated to obtain just a clear text of access token. But from my perspective, when I read carefully the Microsoft documentation, they also mention that if you are so confused and want to obtain the access token, you can ask some command line stuff and then communicate with the underlying infrastructure and get the access token back. So we decided to integrate it inside our BlueMap, and it becomes automatically. We will see it later. But let's start with external reconnaissance. Our target is several digital assets online. We don't have time for do some reconnaissance as fully running some ASM stuff or so. So let's see how easy it is from BlueMap to do some external reconnaissance. So in this video, take a while. We skip that because instead of starting from the outside world, I want to show it for this lecture. We are starting in some in use case when we are inside hybrid mode infrastructure, like I explained before. And inside this workstation with a low privilege account, we are running this model called Gen token. The Gen token essentially does two things behind the scene. First, it's checking if we have some access token outcoded in the oldest version. If not, it's going to do some command line magic to obtain the access token from the new version. So after a few minutes, depends on the environment, we capture the token, and now we can do who am I, and we are authenticated at this account. And from that stage on, we can continue to explore our tenant. Okay, I think it's the wrong one. Yes. So we talk about the external reconnaissance. Another few words about it. When we do external reconnaissance, we need to give attention for validate account, do some information about the Azure domain, because traditional intent might be ineffective when it comes to Azure retaining. Let's see it in action. Start the correct one. Okay, so in that demo, we collected some emails based on the LinkedIn of the company. So one of our model, external, OSINT, will provide us some information about the target. So providing our victim domain, and the tool now verified, okay, this is indeed, there is a tenant there, it's managed, location is in Europe, great. Now moving ahead with the knowledge that it is essentially a valid Azure tenant, we are running our email enumeration. We want to see which one of these emails are valid, because we might get wrong with the promotions, but everyone is valid. Okay, moving ahead, let's use this particular emails list with a password spray model to see if we can get some footprint, right? Providing some very complicated password, running our emails or victim list. And yes, we found our first foothold in the system. Of course, in the real life scenario, it wasn't that powerful, but this is pretty much the same power that we have in Bloom. Everything is done automatically. It's become interactive with us, so we're saving time by remember all these commands and utilities. So the authentication requirements of the second part will be focused on the valid attack path we can find. Okay, once we are authenticated, let's see how far we can go. Again, to the demo. Sorry for that, it's a few gigs of there you go. Okay, so again, we will authenticated. Yes, we are running it, try to make it faster. And this auto recon is a built-in command which provided by Bloom. It's running all over the subscription, the storages, the unit, subscription by subscription, and then based on your current permissions and IAM model, it will mention you which exploit you can take it further and what will be the best attack path you can abuse. Okay, it might take a little bit longer because it was a very complicated environment. Essentially, we will get some information about the assets available under our subscription, the role permission that we have, the shadow permission, so to speak, if we have some sort of permission that correlate with some other rule that might provide us some level of doing some assignment. So it's a very effective tool, and we use that to find some shadow admins as well in our customer tenant. Okay, so we have our valid account. We have our first attack path. Let's abuse it. Let's find another usable attack path. Okay, so once we are running our tool, we can find that we have our contributor level of access, which is very interesting about this rule. A rule is the ability to execute commands on virtual machines. So once we have it, we try to use another model, which intend to run a bit longer, but it's very careful. Yeah. Okay. So we are using the run command model. It will find all the accessible virtual machines for us. And in a very interactive way, just asking you which one would you like to attack. So in that manner, we choose Windows because we have all set of Windows attacker and Kali, of course. Okay, we pick the first one. It will ask us to provide a script. In that case, we provide our reverse shell in obfuscated version because there is a defender and some sort of defenses on the virtual machine. So we made it specifically for this demo. And once it's running, we are expected to get our reverse shell back. So now we have our first foothold in the tenant. From this machine with the Windows Server pre-prod, we can take it further. We can extract the managed identity. We can load it to our tool, looking for another attack path, maybe to find some hidden gems on the machine. We had one time that we are compromised one virtual machine, and that particular Windows machine was a PATI used for communicate over SSH with a Linux machine, and it was open with a public key authentication. So we just logged into the server. It was a total different server out of the tenant, and we moved from there. You can find very interesting stuff once you're inside. Okay, so it was a very short session because the tool has a lot of capabilities, a lot of features and automation. In the community version, as I show you, is the terminal based, very interactive though, but all the GUI and the reporting capabilities are not been deployed yet for the community version. We are still working on it. And the takeaway that you can take it from there that we don't need anymore to leverage several tools because Azure is a very new topic, but it comes with a lot of tools, the utilities we can carry on, and sometimes can be overwhelming when we are the company want to simulate some red teaming in the cloud. And while Azure provides a robust and secure platform, there is some responsibility model between the consumer to the cloud. And when we are taking it into our account, we need to have a practical tool which take it into consideration and help us to provide the result and the insight for our customers and improve their cloud security posture. And that's all I have for you for today. And really some recommendations for my engagement. Invest in your attack surface management because it's very important. We do it very quick with the Blue Mat. We can do much more, of course, but we consider to have some solutions around this layer. Of course, always review the identity access management, the policies, delete unnecessary procedures, and really reduce the attack surface when it comes to assign a rule to someone in your team or in your company. In fact, I've seen many of my customers just using the built-in rules in Azure, and in the most cases, they just make them a really shadow admins of the tenants. So it's really important to understand what we are assigned and from whom. Does it need it? What was the attack that might be happening with regard this specific rulebook? And of course, the firewalls and stuff, because every time we deploy something in the cloud or we are using the marketplace of the cloud, we don't control, we sometimes we don't have full control about the rules and the configuration and the level of maturity of these particular images that are being deployed. So we need to take in consideration that we are not looking only for the traditional vulnerabilities, the Active Directory permissions, so the same on-premise vulnerabilities. When it comes to cloud, we need to look at 360 degrees because everything is managed from the exposed code to the IAM to the policy to be deployed and the level of subscription. And it's really important to have as much as we can controls in place. And that being said, thank you very much again, and hope you enjoy.
Thank you very much, Maor. Thank you. And now we will go over to Maor Chazan. Maor, I hope you're here. And Maor is a sales engineer in Mandiant and Google. He's a real expert in the field of information security. He sees both the very deep technical aspects of the business value that can be created. I know him personally, and it was a pleasure to work with him at Cisco for a few years ago. So Maor, the stage is yours, and let's take it. Maor Tal, please put yourself on mute. Maor Tal.
יש שם כמה אנשים
Okay, Zvika, can you please take off the mortal?
אז הנה מאור ישראל הגיב לי מה יקרה אם יוקטן.
Thank you. Go ahead, Maor Chazan. Maor Chazan, are you talking? Just a second, let's see. In the meanwhile, there are other questions, so if you want to raise another question, okay, Maor? No?
Mao is trying some issues with the microphone, but wait a minute, we will solve it.
Okay. We have a lot of questions in the Q&A, so I will leave them for the end, as we had before with Keren, but I saw that you have a lot of questions about work and what kind of courses to take. So Keren and May are two people that can really answer your questions about that. This is one. And second thing, thank you very much, everybody, for putting your LinkedIn link. It's really nice, and I think that we can really make a nice cooperation and work together and to be more connected. By the way, I also put mine, so I'll be really happy to connect to each one of you. And also there was a question how to buy the book of Plan B of Rafael Franco. So you can write an email to info@presale1.com. Again, info@presale1.com, and you'll get all the answers. Maor, you're here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, I feel
Yes,
the
good
gap.
luck. Good luck.
Yeah, sorry about it. So hi everyone.
Great.
Good afternoon. My name is Maor Chazan from Google. I'm sales engineer in the Mandiant business unit, working with threat intelligence solution, and also with the platform solutions from Google. Today, I want to review our offering and solutions for applied intelligence. So to any of you who's familiar with the concept of applied intelligence, Google and Mandiant took it to a different angle, on a different direction. And what we are trying to do with applied intelligence is to allow customers to work at scales. And this solution addresses a specific issue and a specific challenge in the industry. We know that there are many types and vendors that produce a SIM platform as a central repository for logs and for events. So it is very important for forensics purposes to collect all your events from firewall, from EDR, from operating system, from applications, to everything, to have it in a centralized place. So later on, it's possible to produce alerts, correlations, as well as it's possible to conduct forensics investigation for previous activity and workloads and maybe malicious activity that had happened. The main issue that we noticed is that we have so many events. It comes down to hundreds of gigabytes, but sometimes in a more typical environments that are not small, we see hundreds of terabytes of events. That means billions of events and logs that are being collected to these centralized platforms. And we're not sure that someone knows how to cope and how to deal with that amount of data. So basically, we have a platforms that it's able to get so much data, but it's not possible to produce from that data the alerts and the awareness and the actually ad hoc capturing of attacks as in the quality and in the speed that we want to do. And this is where the solution from Google and Mandiant for applied intelligence come into play. So what we do with this solution is we leverage the capabilities of Mandiant inside our CTI. So CTI stands for the Cyber Threat Intelligence. One of the main takeaways, one of the main products we have inside the CTI is indicators, IOC, indicator of attack or indicator of compromise. So typically those indicators will be the fingerprint of attacker. So we can take those indicators, and in Mandiant CTI, we have millions, hundreds of millions of indicators. Those indicators were born out of a work of research. And with our research, we have 1,600 researchers working globally in all kinds of regions and languages. We also have the reverse engineering team that also produce a lot of telemetries and indicators. We also have lots of alliances and cooperation with other companies like CrowdStrike, Microsoft, and other companies. So all of those, eventually all of those feeds produce hundreds of millions of indicators. Some of the indicators are also comes from OSINT, so they are open source, could be from MISP server, could be from other crowdsource. So it is a variety of indicators that helps to identify attackers and to identify threat group and threat actors. And we do what we're trying to do with all of those indicators is we try to search them inside the events that we have, the billions of events that we have inside the SIEM that were collected inside the SIEM. And by that, we are trying to basically in the attack chain, in the kill chain cycle, as we see it here, we try to identify the attacker or the adversary at the earliest point possible on the reconnaissance phase or weaponization phase. It could be also happening on the later stages, but the main purpose is to reduce the mean time to detect as much as possible. So you probably heard about mean time to detect, mean time to discover. So we want to reduce this value to the minimum as possible, allowing to companies to be more aware and to be familiar with some malicious activity that is happening. So we've spoke about it before, but Mandiant brings the frontline intelligence that includes a large research organization. We also have really robust incident response investigation and quantity globally. So with the incident response, we also get the chance to be the first who identify and discover zero-day attacks and also new indicators that leads to malwares and to adversaries and attack groups. So with the breach analytics, what we do, as we've mentioned, we take the indicators, millions of indicators, and we'll provide a demo of the platform shortly. So we take millions of indicators. Those indicators, when we say indicators, we talk about one of the four options. So it could be an IP address that is associated with an attacker. It could be a file hash that is associated with some tool or malware that the attacker is using. It could be a domain name that also might be leveraged for a spear phishing campaign or for other malicious activity. And it could be a top-level domain as well that is associated with an actor. So one of the four, and always they will be associated either with the malware or with the offensive activity or threat actor or threat group. So when we take those four types of indicators, and we have millions of them, we use AI and machine learning to search those millions of indicators inside our billions of logs that were collected and stored in our SIEM platform. So that's the main idea behind the platform. As soon as we have a matching, so we identify an IP address that is associated with an actor inside our logs, we will provide all the data that is related to this actor, and we will show also what logs are related. We will also provide some guidance about how this specific threat group or attacker is working. So what are the tactics, what are the TTPs of the actor, and lots of other peripheral information that can assist the customer to remediate and to eradicate the activity of the attacker. So the end goal is to really increase awareness. So today, when we're talking about billions of events and a really large amount of data that are collected and stored, it's really hard to cope and to deal with that amount of data. And the idea behind Breach Analytics, our solution, is to allow SOC analysts and SecOps teams to deal with this amount of information at a scale with intelligence that is being infused in order to identify offensive activity. So this process is constantly working of matching indicator with events that were collected, and it is allowing to deal with the alert fatigue. This is how we call it. So lots of data that is being processed but does not produce enough cyber security or defense oriented information, allowing to the customer to be aware of attacks or attempts for compromise. And with the capabilities that we enable through breach analytics, this specific issue is being addressed, allowing to get more awareness and less time to identify and to capture an attack. It is important to mention that at the beginning, when this solution was developed, because it's pretty unique, it's bringing lots of intelligence data, and it is infused this data into our SIM platform. It was supposed to support many SIM platforms. So the leading one, like Splunk, QRadar, and it was decided eventually to leave this solution to be solely supporting only Google SIM platform, Chronicle. So this platform is also more compatible with the idea of working at scale. Other SIM solutions were less appealing for this solution. So we see a few screenshots. I will just skip those screenshots, but remember that this is how the product looks like on the new version. So this is the embedded version. In this demo, we will see the Mandiant legacy version. So in the new version, you can see that there are a few additions that were also developed and inserted into the solution. One of them was the integration with VirusTotal, with VT. So when we capture a specific offensive activity, we will also take the indicator and we will provide the customer the information that is gathered through VirusTotal. So to any of you who is not familiar with VirusTotal basically is the one of the most common and standard in the industry for crowdsourced intelligence solution. So we get that also this technology incorporated and added into the solution. So with that, I'll just jump into the demo. Okay. Sorry about that. Just bringing up the right demo environment. Okay, never mind. We'll go with this one. Okay, so this is a Mandiant Advantage portal. So all of the applications and solutions that Mandiant produced are being published in this portal, including our CTI and other solutions that we have. Now we are looking at the breach analytics solution, but basically we have other solutions as well in this platform. So as we've mentioned, what we do with the breach analytics is we're trying to create a matching between intelligence data through indicators and events that were collected by our SIEM platforms. And here we get a statistics of what data was scanned by breach analytics. And in the table below, on the lower part of the screen, we can see the actual matching between indicators from one hand, and on the other hand, between the data that is stored in our SIEM platform. So we can see the type of indicators that are available. So as we've mentioned before, we have the file hashes, and we have domains and IP addresses, and we can choose to look just on specific type of indicator. And when we click on a specific, let's say, file hash that is representing some tool or some malware, then we can see the file hash here at the top. Then we can see the ranking, the score that Mandiant provide for the customer that could, indicate for the analyst or for whoever is addressing this issue, what is the priority and how urgent it is to deal with this specific indicator. Also, we can also try to realize, and we will see the rationale behind it, if this specific indicator might be associated with a breach. So there are a few priorities. Active breach is the highest. And then we see also how this specific log type that we see on the bottom is associated to a threat actor and a malware. So all of that is centralized here. We see also the prevalence globally, how common this specific indicator is and attack is globally, and when it was first and last seen in my environment. If I click on the event from the SIEM that is matched here, then I can see that that specific indicator comes from Mandiant incident response activity. It's some customer, and we see the JSON for the log pattern. So if I have some platform or application that is not connected to my SIEM, and I would like to get this data and query and search it in other places, then I can use the JSON. It is pretty standard and convenient, and I can get the this event and this specific file hash if it is available and exists in other places that are not reporting to my SIEM platform. As well, from here, we can jump to our CTI platform. So let's say, okay, I realized that I have this file hash and it was found in my logs, and it is representing some offensive activity. So I can look at the threat actor, and it will take me, it will redirect me into our CTI platform. And here, basically, I can see the profile of the attacker. I can see that we're talking about a Russian threat group, and their motive is espionage. And we can see when they're starting to active, to work. We can see what other tools are associated with this group, and what other malwares, and what kind of vulnerabilities they are actually using in order to exploit and to breach customer. We see that we have more indicators that are relevant to this specific actor, and we see what industries and what countries they typically attack. So all this information is available here. In addition, we can take the activity and the work that this and the tactics that this group is using, and we map it to Mitre attack framework, so we can see how their tactics is being spread over the different phases in military attack framework. So for gaining initial access, we can see that one of the options is to use spear phishing campaigns. So we can see the translation of mandate for this campaign. We can see the specific tactic, and we can see each phase and each step of the attack and how the specific threat group is working. And remember, all of that is eventually corresponding and correlated to that specific event that was identified. In addition, we have a graph view that can show us the entire activity of this threat actor. So we can see the associated malwares, industry, everything that we saw before. All the indicators are centralized here. And if we have some reports that are relevant to attacks that were involved with this specific threat group. Okay, any questions or anything from the audience so far? Or it's not? Romy, we are open for questions or just?
We leave them for the end unless you have other things to say now. Okay, if you want to, if there is any question that until. Okay, you have question, possibility to upload JSON formats for objects.
I'm sorry?
Well, the question was, is there any possibility to upload JSON formats for objects?
What type of objects? So it's basically, it's not, it's the solution, Breach Analytics, is not, it can be incorporated in a tip with a tip environment, but it is more getting as an input indicators, what we mentioned before, millions of indicators, and then it is matching, it is searching those indicators with the data lake, which is a SIM platform, and it's Chronicle. So the JSON that you see for the matching that representing the event is more for the analyst to download it and to take it in order to identify the same event in other platforms. It is not on the other direction, like you can import, you can actually export the JSON, but you cannot import into the system a JSON unless you're looking to do something else.
Great. So thank you, Maor. We will continue, we'll proceed our presentations. We're a bit not on time, so we need to proceed, okay? So thank you very much. It was a pleasure to see you again after a few years that we haven't met. Okay, so next we have Krishna. I'm sorry, I will not pronounce your surname. I don't want to make any mistakes. I will leave it to you. So Krishna is an accomplished executive with a distinguished career spanning over 2 decades in the technologies and banking sectors. With a strong focus on product strategy, marketing, and customer success, Krishna has driven brand and demand while fostering strategic alliances across global markets. Krishna has been with Zimperium for more than 8 years and is currently the VP of Product Strategy. Today he's going to talk about mobile security defense, and the presentation will concentrate on the current landscape of major threats in the mobile and the app security. I saw first that somebody was asking about applications, so here it is. It will elaborate on how Zimperium can offer effective defense strategies against these prevalent threats and address the daily challenges incurred by our customers. The sessions will include practical examples to understand the urgency of addressing the critical and demanding secure posture prevailing in today's world. So thank you, Krishna. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the hour that you're awake. I know it's in the middle of the night. So thank you again, and I'm giving you the mic.
Thank you, Romy. Can you hear me okay? Just to confirm before I get started.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Let me just quickly share. Can everybody see my screen? And should be coming up any second.
Yes, not yet.
Perfect.
Yes, now it's okay.
Okay, perfect. Rami, thank you for that wonderful introduction, and thank you for the invite, Eyal, and you as well. Folks, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. As Rami mentioned, I am part of a company called Zimperium. For those of you who are not aware of what we do, we are a mobile security company, and we do two things. We protect mobile devices accessing the enterprise, and we help enterprises and mobile-powered businesses build secure and compliant mobile applications, right? So we are the only security platform out there that does both mobile apps security and mobile device security. Now, for the next 15, 20 minutes, what I thought would be informative for this group is really what we present to our customers, is help them understand the mobile threat landscape, right? To bring awareness and to help them make better informed security decisions, right? So without any further ado, let's get into this. So like I said, Zimperium does two things. If nothing else, I want you to remember that we protect, we secure mobile devices and mobile apps. And I'll come back to this once we talk about the threat landscape. So this is the state of the planet today, right? Every enterprise, every business that we interact with is highly invested in digital transformation, right? And a lot of the companies we deal with are invested in a mobile-first digital transformation, right? Because they realize their employees and customers are both using mobile devices and mobile apps to get work done, right? So think about it. Your employees are accessing a bunch of enterprise apps and data on their mobile phone. This could be BYOD, this could be a phone that you gave them, even via apps. And they take this phone and they walk out of your office building, right? Same with consumers and your customers. If you're a banking customer, for example, they are using your mobile app, right, for banking, for everyday banking needs. So we're in this position where businesses have apps for employees, apps for customers, and they're running on devices that you might have given them or their personal devices, right? And that's where this problem starts, because every year we do more and more on our mobile devices, whether it's work or personal stuff. So there's mobile devices constantly are accessing more and more sensitive data, whether we like it or not, right? And the name of the game is convenience. It's convenient, so we all do it. And that's not going to change, right? Convenience, fortunately or unfortunately, is more important than security right now. So, but what's the problem? You know, when companies invest in mobile and say, we're going to do mobile first digital transformation, sometimes what's hard to realize is, yes, but that device that you're enabling, the app that's getting installed on the device, actually lives outside of your perimeter, and more importantly, outside of your control, right? This is not perimeter security. So then you get into this notion that, what does this mean? One, it's important for everybody to recognize that is what makes mobile different, right? Your device leaves your building and goes into the real world. Your app leaves your building and sits inside an app store for anybody to download and reverse, right? And that's what makes mobile as a platform and its ecosystem quite different from traditional laptop, desktop security, right? And once they understand this, you kind of understand, well, if you look at our mobile devices, it's exposed to quite a different number of elements, right? When we think about employees accessing enterprise systems and data on their personal device, right? All the things come up. Ooh, they're connecting to airport Wi-Fis. They're downloading personal apps that could have malware. They connect their phone to a PC via USB, right? We're constantly clicking on links on our personal channels, right? Not just business email. People think business email is the only way you can get a phishing link. It's absolutely not true. Threat actors are very, very smart. They know the propensity of us clicking on a phishing link on our personal email, social media, right? All of this is more, right? And then you have this notion of we're downloading apps, and most mobile apps today are built like Legos, right? So you have a whole bunch of third-party code with my code that's sitting on a device I can't control. So understanding the implication of what it is to embrace mobile within a business is really what we do, right? And that's what you're seeing here. It's very important to recognize what this means, what type of threat you are dealing with. So to understand the mobile threat landscape, and we've done this for 2 years in a row, and our ability to do this is because of who we protect. We're a global brand that allows us the luxury to get a lot of threat intel. Like I said before, we protect a lot of customers, big and small, globally, in over 150 countries, lots of devices. Since we're on the device and app side, we get to see when these apps are scanned, pre-release, what's going on. We get a sense of where they are more issues than not. And obviously, once the app is released, we have security solutions that give us on-device threat telemetry. Now, what makes our mobile threat intelligence unique is our on-device protection and visibility, meaning we get a lot of threat intel, which is anonymized, about what is happening on this device, right? What does bad behavior look like on a mobile device? Whether you've given access to your employees on their personal phone, whether you have enterprise apps running on that device, or whether you have a customer-facing app like a banking app running on the device, our solutions provide back a lot of telemetry, not just to us, but even to the business that's invested in us, to say, here are where your risks, threats, and attacks are coming from, right? That's really why our threat intelligence is unique. To be able to see what's going on the device is gold, right? It allows you to optimize your security. And that's very important because, as you all know, security comes at a cost, especially when you're thinking mobile apps. Every time you want to add more security into an app, the cost is size and performance, right? So you can't protect against everything. There is a trade-off for everything. So in the last 1 year, when we look across all this threat intel, a couple of things stand out. And I thought just speaking about some of these things will be informative to this group. Okay. So when we see so much of threat intel, there are 4 vectors that we see are most concerning, I should say, right? Okay, first is device. Like I said before, mobile devices, right? We know we allow people to access the enterprise on their personal devices. 80% of enterprises have already given access to BYO or personal devices, right? But the problem is the device itself. There is hardware, there is operating system, and then there is the apps we download, right? The platforms themselves are evolving. They are getting better, right? But that also means they are vulnerabilities that will show up, right? 0 day. I mean, one of the biggest, I think, myths that I think we've gotten better about understanding is the notion that iOS is more secure, which is absolutely not true. Most of the exploits that our research team finds and looks into are on iOS. So I had a question where it said, how are you seeing this threat data? So a lot of our security products, right, when they run on devices or they're sitting inside an app, they report back into a centralized console for the enterprise, for them to see what is going on across 100,000 devices that are accessing the enterprise, or 100 million app installs like banking, and how they're being attacked, right? So that threat visibility is sent to them, it gets anonymized, and then gets sent to us so that we can see which threat is more prevalent and what to do about it from a product perspective. Now, the platforms themselves are evolving, and they will constantly evolve, right? Their capabilities are evolving. Tons of people contribute code to a mobile device. So a lot of these things, when it comes to software, are not new. Network. Cyber hygiene is one of the most important risk vectors when you think mobile. Why? Because you know who's the biggest risk factor when it comes to mobile? It's us, right? We take this device, we get up in the morning, once we leave the house, and if you travel, you connect it to all kinds of Wi-Fi, right? You download all kinds of apps because they're free, they're cheaper, it's free movies, free games. They allow us to be productive, right? So we connect to a lot of networks, and we connected because speed of connectivity is still very attractive. In the West, it isn't, but as we go east, 2G, 3G, 4G, Wi-Fi speeds are very attractive because you might have to pay for them from your cellular provider, right? So we connect, and that makes you very prone to man-in-the-middle attacks. And as you know, if you're an iPhone owner like me, once you connect to Starbucks, it'll automatically connect to Starbucks without me ever asking if it sees Starbucks, right? And that's how these devices operate. But a lot of these nuances are lost when we're trying to secure these devices for the enterprise, right? Phishing, one of my favorite topics, and I think everyone loves this, is we are 6 to 10 times more likely to fall for an SMS phishing attack than an email attack. 6 to 10 times, right? This is what the data is telling us, which also explains why 80% of phishing sites now are either built for mobile or designed to work on mobile, right? Why not? When the success rate is so high and the mobile form factor makes it very difficult to see where the link is going. I mean, think about the last link we clicked on. You clicked on it, it redirected 4 times and landed somewhere, and the browser on my phone makes it really hard for me to see where did you even land. Do you even recognize the URL? Most of the times I don't, because I'm trying to buy something, someone's trying to promote something. Someone emails me saying, oh, there's a problem with my bank, there's a UPS, there's a FedEx package I haven't, and this is endless on your mobile. It's SMS, it's email, it's social, right? It's your personal channels that are going to get you into trouble, right? The last but not least that we see jump quite a bit is malware. You know, malware has been around for a long time. But last year, we saw malware detections across the tens of millions of devices, just we protect, jump 51%, right? We have not seen that before, right? And when we looked into it, so what we said is, how is it that, what is so special about 2023 that malware jumped 50%? And it was really banking malware that had become prolific, right? And I'll give you a sense of why this becomes so attractive. Now, one of the things all of us do, if you look at your mobile phones, I have over 6 financial apps on my phone: credit card, loan, savings, high yield, you name it. So threat actors have realized all age groups are banking on their mobile phone. They want to bank on their mobile phone, right? We don't want to ever go to a bank. We want to bank on this. So when we looked at malware and how can malware jump 50% in a year, here's what we found. We found that 29 banking malware families were targeting 1,800 apps across 61 countries. Now, we talk about scale, but from malware perspective, that's immense amount of scale, right? And when we looked at what was happening, right, these malware that we track every year, from 2022 to 2023, had learned a bunch of new tricks, right? And if you look at it, 2022, we always talked about screen overlay, disable anti-malware, hiding the app. But then when we looked at the same malware in 2023, look at all the other tricks that it's learned. Notifications, bypass OTP, disable other apps, right? ATS, if those not familiar with ATS, it allows malware on your device to log in, add a payee, and transfer money initiate a money transfer and authorize it without you ever getting involved, right? So it's frictionless fraud, what these things do. And then in 2023, when we looked at these malware, we said, so what capabilities are all of these guys very interested in? 4 stood out, and I'll talk about 1 or 2 of them that are most interesting. Malware as a service. As you know, till a few years ago, if you wanted to build banking malware, it took you 2 or 3 years to build sophisticated malware and the infrastructure around it. Today, you can rent that infrastructure for $3,000 to $7,000 and get up and going in a month, right? So essentially, the cost of entry for malware drastically has come down. So every year now we see new malware entering the market. And because now these malware authors are sharing code, they mutate, right? You see so many variants. So if you are trying to keep up with some form of a signature-based mechanism, it's going to be very, very difficult, right? So malware is rapidly evolving. Now, how are they succeeding, right? Malware is not just evolving, right? They have scammed so many people with QR codes. And when we go back to enterprises, we talk to them, malware succeeds because it undermines all these different solutions, right? Because these solutions are great, but they're built for a different purpose. A lot of malware abuse and exploitation happens on the device, right? It is not happening at the server side. So things, for example, malware, they're stealing credentials on your device from your app, right? Your security questionnaires, phishing screens, all of it is being done on device via your app, right? But a lot of these other solutions that you see, especially on mobile, reside our server side, right? So we help enterprises understand the boundaries of the investments they've made and why they might not be great for client-side security. So that's the conversation we're having, right? This threat intelligence is really to help enterprises understand these are fantastic, but here's how they are getting undermined and bypassed on the mobile device because of the nature of the device. Apps. Someone asked me about apps. So like I said, right, we protect mobile devices and mobile apps. And we always get asked, why are mobile apps so easy to abuse? First and foremost, before the data, remember, mobile apps are the only time where your code leaves your building and sits on a store, right? If you think about a web app or a desktop app, you never publish your code for everyone to look at. But for mobile, you build your app and you put it on all kinds of stores where people can just download the app and reverse engineer. It doesn't happen everywhere else. Your web app runs on your infrastructure. Mobile apps run on my phone, right? You can't even prevent me from downloading your app unless you're a private app, right? So think of all the consumer-facing apps like banking that can be downloaded and reversed. And the reason why we see so much of abuse is look at the type of protections they have, right? Runtime protection. Most apps don't have any runtime protection, meaning most mobile app developers can't see how they're being attacked, right? Mobile app security typically starts with a standards-based approach, right? All of us know, so do we. We think about, let's be compliant to OWASP, let's be compliant to MASVS, let's be compliant to NIST. But how do you know how you're really getting attacked? And that's really runtime protection, and most apps are lacking it. Data protection. We believe encryption is security, and that's not true. Unfortunately, on mobile, if you're reliant on hardware because of fragmentation, it could give you a false sense of security. So you have to be careful. You have to understand where your app is running and how are you securing that data on the device, right? Code protection. So many apps that we see use free products, right? Which do more code optimization than code protection, right? There's very little protection against reverse engineering and tampering, right? And this is probably the first thing we recommend people to do, because if I can reverse engineer your app, and if you have no protection, it takes $100 in 10 minutes, right, to reverse an app to see the code. I know exactly what you're doing. I know the security you're using. So it becomes very easy for me to bypass it, right? But so many apps don't pay sufficient attention to how easy, right, their code could walk out the door, right? And this is across iOS and Android apps, because it's the same developers for the most part, right? And this is not really against developers, because I've been one for a long time. It's just there's a lack of security training, right? We grow up, we come out of universities and training, we learn how to code, but learning to write secure code is a completely different skill, right? And a lot of developers, even when I wrote code, I didn't even know what secure code looked like, right? Forget about writing it. So there's a lot of training that's missing, and we see enterprises making that shift and investing right now, but still a lot of catching up to do. So when you think about apps, we always say, if you look at your phone, I have 170 apps on my phone. I trust the brand, so I think the app is secure. That's how we operate as consumers, right? But when we look at the apps and say, let's see what's going on, they're not as secure as we would love them to be, right? Your notion of how secure your brand is would change if you saw things like this. And we see consistent vulnerabilities across whatever category, health, finance, right? All of them make similar mistakes. And a lot of these things are OWASP violations and MASVS violations, right? And the biggest reason we find when we engage with enterprises to help them is they're trying to get an app to market really quick, right? Everyone's trying to go agile. Speed to market is the priority because it's tied to revenue, growth, and other things. Sometimes security takes a back seat. We understand that, right? So that's the natural order of things. So really where we go in and kind of help them understand is, we understand you don't want to compromise velocity, but also understand what is the risk you're accepting as an enterprise when you don't address these issues, right? That's the most important thing for enterprises. Once they see this, then they start making informed decisions about what is acceptable risk versus what isn't. And that's the right thing to do. That's how you start your mobile app security journey. You're not going to get everything. That's not even the point. But at least understand the risk that you're accepting when you go get an exception for that release. Now, why is it so hard, right? On the device and app, there's several things. Like I said, the big problem when you say, I'm going to allow my employees to access my enterprise stuff on their personal device, you have to accept a couple of things. First of all, this $2,000 phone is mine. So I don't care who you are. You can't really tell me what to do on my phone, right? It's very hard. Untrusted environments. Everybody uses their phone differently. The footprint of the phone is different. The risk of device risk of that phone is different. I download apps, third-party apps. I blend work and personal stuff on the same phone. So there's a lot of risk on these devices. Not only is there risk on that device, the risk profile of a personal device changes every day, right? And the security you embrace has to be able to keep up with that, right? One day I might have malware, second day I might connect to a Wi-Fi that's not secure, and that changes. So your security needs to be able to adapt to that. Same thing on the app side, right? Your app runs on a device you don't control. And that app is exposed to all these elements we talked about, Wi-Fi's, QR codes, malware, not updating the OS, and it goes on and on. So your app operates in a very, very untrusted and a hostile environment. And you, as an app developer, need to make sure your crown jewels are safe. So you need to think about that, right? And that is really what Zimperium's mission is we are helping enterprises, one, secure their mobile devices and their mobile apps, right? That are accessing a ton of personal data, delivering convenience, but there's a lot of inherent risk that you need to understand. Once you understand it, enterprises are very capable of making good decisions, right? And that's what we do. And that's the idea of the threat intel. Now, we're the only vendor. What makes Zimperium unique is most of the time, and most of you folks interact with one of the solutions. If you want to protect mobile devices and mobile apps, you probably have 4 to 6 products. What we're trying to do for the market, because the market is asking us of it, is there one platform that allows me to manage mobile device and mobile app risk in one place, right? Because if you're invested in mobile, you have to solve both those problems at some point in time. You might choose to start at one place, but you have to solve both those problems. So really, from a Zimperium standpoint, this is what we're helping leaders do, right? Security leaders such as yourself, development, engineering, is for them to think about mobile and what it means to invest or become a mobile-first business, right? To move from managing apps and devices to securing them, right? Ad hoc tactics. You've embraced mobile. There's some free tooling, yes, but think about it across the board, right? Because there's enterprise data and there's personal data that's at risk. There used to be a time where checkbox security was great. It no longer is, right? The sophistication of threats that we're seeing is evolving rapidly. So it's really, we're at that cusp where enterprises are realizing they need a comprehensive strategy for devices and apps because they're invested in both. The biggest, if not anything, when the mobile threat evolves this rapidly, the security you have can't be reactive or just static, right? You have to invest in security that gives you proactive security and also is able to keep up with the threats, right? Can you update your security over the air, right? Simple things like that. And that's one of the biggest things enterprises are realizing is they've invested in security, which is a great start, but some of those security pieces can't keep up. And that could be detrimental to their risk profile, right? So as you move forward, if nothing else, what I want you to take away is one, the mobile threat landscape is quite different from legacy endpoints. The threat is evolving on devices and apps. So when you choose your security solutions, make sure these security solutions can protect you on the device where the threat happens in real time, that they give you visibility, and more important than anything, that they can keep up and that you can update your security over the air. Right? Those are some very simple things to keep in mind as you choose your security vendors. With that, that's all I had. I'm open to taking questions. Let's see. I have a bunch of questions. Let me go back. Okay. What can app devs do to prevent their apps being reverse engineered? One, invest in real code tampering and anti-tampering solutions, right? Free tools only go a certain way, and they mostly code optimize, but don't really protect code. What are the top threats you see rising within AI-based apps? That's a good one. I think the big thing is app users and editors. So here's the problem. You can develop an app using AI, but the concern we're seeing, if you're using a source code scanner, most source code scanners are focused on code quality. I would invest in a binary scanner that actually tells you how your code is going to be abused and exploited on the device, which is a very different question than writing good code or licenses in third party. So invest in a mobile-focused binary scanner. I'm going up, folks, to see if there are any more questions. I thought I saw a few more. Love the comments, folks. Thank you so much for engaging. Vulnerabilities, absolutely. Let me see. I feel like I've missed one other question. All right. In the interest of time, I know Romy said we're a little behind. I will turn it back. Romy, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. And of course, all the questions, we will address them even later on. So if you have more questions, you can write them in the chat and we'll gather all together and we'll send them to all the people that are that showed interest. So don't worry, we will not lose any question. Everything will be answered. So thank you again, Krishna. It was really, really interesting, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much, Romy. Thanks, Eyal.
Thank you. Bye. So now for the ending of our day, really nice day, long day, and very interesting. I would like to introduce Zvika Fleischmann. Zvika has over 25 years in the field of information technology, 10 years in the cyber area, worked 15 years in CA and 3 years in Raytheon Cyber Division. For the past 3 years, he has been at Google Mandiant and is responsible for the cyber intelligence for strategic clients. Hello, Zvika.
Hi,
How
hello,
are you?
everyone. First of all, I want to introduce Romy, that guide all of this event.
Thank you.
Romy is a legend. and Romy, she is a EMEA sales director at Revlaze. She has more than 15 years of experience in technology sales and in particular cyber, former white hacker. Romy.
Yes, it's Zvika. So let's start with you.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit of.
I want to bring a little bit stories from our area in the intelligence for the customers. Without the name of the customers, absolutely, because they are very shy. I will bring something about critical national infrastructure. One day I got a phone call from our intelligence division, one of the intelligence division's analysts. He told me that, informed me that they has control of a server in the darknet, and they find over there script with username and the password of some employee of the critical national infrastructure. I called to the CISO at this organization, told him what we find. He's almost dead when he heard that, and we assist him to stop first of all to block this station, change all the passwords, and we give him another day things how to manage with the architectures of his security. Because we know the MITRE, the attack framework of this group that tried to attack him, and we stopped it. It was something good. Another story from this area, it's about unicorn cybersecurity here in Israel. Unicorn company, I think that everyone know the name, but we not they are shame. We will not tell the name of them. They try. They find one day that someone make a. They find some spike in the utilization in the data center of them. They have an incident response retainer with us. We came and check it. We find a Russian group that the specialty of them is crypto mining. They install crypto mining in the data center of this cybersecurity unicorn company, and we make all the investigation, we block them, we clean it, and they start back to work. We have a lot of stories like that, and we find more and more that some of the hackers from the Asia area, they work at the government with the government solution, the government products for attack. It's very strong tools. It's very hard to defend with them from them, and at the evening, the government bring them the option to work with this solution to make this, I call it the salary of them, and they attack some small company, bring half of Bitcoin here, a quarter of Bitcoin there, and it's very hard to defend from this tools because it's government tools with a lot of power. Romy, from your side in Reblaze, bring us some stories, but the good story of that.
So actually, I'm not going to speak really about a story because we also have, unfortunately, we saw a lot of attacks during the last months. First of all, Reblaze is a web security solution, giving the solution of WAF, DDoS, bot, and API. And what I can say is that for 2023, we saw that there is still a bit of lack of sophistication on the website's attacks. The duration is very small or very short, and the volume is very, let's say, small. So we saw an increase in towards the end of the year. I'm not sure, or we see that they're not using yet all the power that they can, the bad guys. They're not using yet AI for increasing these attacks. We see that they have a very big, let's say, people that are founding these attacks, but we don't see that there is a big amount of AI used for now. So what we can expect for 2024? First of all, we know that are missing in the market around 3.5 million people in the cybersecurity. So the capacity of recruitment of talents is very weak. Not only is the capacity of recruiting is weak, but also the amount of people that has enough experience is not so big. So this is one point. The sophistication of the attacks are growing. So maybe they weren't so sophisticated till now, but they are growing. We see the differentiation. We see that is going and changing. We see the differences between even OP attacks that we saw around April last year and in the end of the year. We see that there are sophistication that are growing, not yet the one that we're expecting, but it's growing. So we expect for 2024 to have a much bigger adoption of AI in digital technologies. We know that companies that are using legacy technologies, old technologies, are going to be attacked, and it's going to be really hard attack. So be prepared. Try to see if you can change the old legacy technologies to new technologies. We know that there are regulatory changes that are going to change this year and in 25. So be prepared because they're here to happen. Okay. Geopolitical attacks are an example to attacks that we are seeing. but they're causing most of all chaos. So for example, a lot of attacks are on hospitals just to create more chaos, and not for sure to steal information, but to create this terror or chaos, as I said before. So we need especially to change our mode from reactive to proactive. I think we spoke about it today in each of every session, okay? And I think that the thing that we are moving to a unified platform of cyber defense solution is something that is increasing. This is increasing once for the complexity of the security solutions that we have, so it helps very much to the teams, but also it solves the vendor overheads. So instead of having a few vendors, you can have one vendor that is managing everything for you. It helps a lot the managers and all the people that are dealing with that. So I'm stop sharing. I think that we spoke a lot today about all the security solution attacks. From May, they spoke a lot about learning and how to start your career, and she's one of the best in that. And also Keren that explained how to go over. I see all the all the emojis. And Tal also started as a hacker, and how she opened a company that she's one of the most powerful women in cyber security, but also the other companies that are really known. Zimperium, for example, I hear about them a lot with my customers and partners all over the world, and of course Mandiant and Olivier and Mauro that are covering all the customers, and of course Maor. I really want to thank all of you for all these all the time that you gave us today, and also to the people that watched us today. But the person that I would like to thank most of all is Eyal, that I hope that will join us now, because if there is somebody that is shy, is Eyal.
Hi.
So I would like to see your face if it's possible.
Yeah, one sec. I just want to say
Go
a few words. Thank you all for the guest. Thank you all for the great panelists and partners in helping making this event a roll. I've enjoyed very much. I'm sure you did too. Such great knowledge was involved here. Presale1 is a cybersecurity project management group. So if anyone wants to engage a project or engage a meeting with one of the panelists, you are more than welcome to. See you on the upcoming event, next one, and we'll keep updating you soon.
So is there already a date?
Thank you very much, Romy and the guys.
Yeah, first of all, we want to see your face, and second, we want to know the date of the next event.
It's the 9th of
September
2024.
Okay, so
Let me pin myself. I just want to pin myself. I'm pinned already.
Okay, so thank you again. Thank you, Tzvika.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Romy. Thank you, Eyal.
And thank you, everybody that stayed here now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
And
much,
all the
everybody.
speakers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All the speakers. Thank you.
Bye-bye.